Hi, everyone. Welcome to the Northern Kentucky Spotlight Podcast powered by CKREU. I'm your host, Sarah Brookbank. Today on the podcast, we are joined by Matthew Randazzo of the Greater Cincinnati Foundation. He highlights the 2026 Devou Cup recipient who will be honored at annual dinner. We are also joined by Frances Kaelin of Bob and Harry's Garage. She talks about their services and how they are building a workforce pipeline. Thank you to our podcast sponsor, CKREU, Google and Amazon advertising experts. Now let's go hear from that sponsor, meet our members of the week, and Katie and I will be back with this week's guests.
Ranking on Google Search and Maps is easy to understand, but hard to do. It requires constant effort and attention, uploading new photos, responding to Google reviews, writing weekly posts, and checking suggested updates. Google listing optimization takes experience and time, and there are no shortcuts. CKREU gives your Google My Business account the steady, consistent attention it needs to be effective, optimizing, updating, and expanding critical content every single week. From local retail stores to large regional networks, CKREU generates content, establishes benchmarks, and creates dramatic, measurable increases in engagement. So what can CKREU do for your business? More calls, more clicks, more clients.
Congratulations to our members of the week. You can learn more about these businesses by following the Northern Kentucky Chamber on social media, where we highlight one of these businesses each day. Now, let's meet our members of the week. Davies Commercial Landscaping Services offers end-to-end solutions, including grounds maintenance, landscaping, irrigation, and snow and ice management. Eagle Country 99 in Lawrenceburg, Indiana, and Wiki Country 95.3 out of Madison, Indiana, and Carrollton, Kentucky are your hometown radio stations, bringing the best in country music, local news, sports, weather, and traffic. Ludiga Process Technology is a global leader and manufacturer of process equipment for industrial mixing, vacuum drying, and reaction process technologies for bulk solids, granulates, powders, dust, paste, and sludge. Joy Built Events curates experiences, turning moments into impact and memories that last. Verdantis delivers engineering, planning, environmental, and infrastructure solutions to public and private clients across Greater Cincinnati and nationally.
Hi, everybody. It's Katie Forcade. I am here with Matthew Randazzo from the Greater Cincinnati Foundation. Thank you so much for joining us today.
I'm delighted to be here. Thank you.
Now, we are talking about something super exciting. I can't believe we're already here towards the end of the fiscal year here with the NKY Chamber, but annual dinner's coming up on September 17th. So pretty exciting, big event every year. And you guys give out the Devou Cup every year. So talk to me a little bit about what this award is and why it's given.
Yeah, thank you. So the Devou Cup was established from GCF's Northern Kentucky Fund more than 20 years ago. And the idea behind it is simple. We should celebrate the individuals and institutions that help make Northern Kentucky a more vibrant place to live. And so for over 20 years, we've been awarding this prize in honor of Mr. Devou, a 19th century philanthropist, to really celebrate just the generosity that really pours into Northern Kentucky.
Awesome. And so obviously this year we're going to celebrate some people. Talk to me a little bit about who's getting the Devou Cup Award this year, why they received it, and what made them stand out this year to you guys.
Yeah, well, thank you for that. I mean, we are so excited to celebrate our friends at the Hale Foundation as the 2026 recipient of the Devou Cup. You know, you would be hard pressed to find major community initiatives in Northern Kentucky, frankly, and in Southwest Ohio that the Hale Foundation has not been part of. And so as we were thinking about the enduring partnerships that GCF has in the community, particularly those partners in Northern Kentucky that are really leaning in to make Northern Kentucky this sort of even greater place to live, work, raise a family, build a business. The Hale Foundation just came to the very top of that list. So we are so delighted to honor the foundation, and that really is a representation of the hard work that Bernie McKay has put into leading the Hale Foundation, a fantastic staff team that he has that are working every day to advance the region, and a really engaged board of trustees that Hale has that are really sort of working to advance the region. So, in short, we just see Hale as a fantastic partner throughout the region, but in particular, their leadership in Northern Kentucky, their willingness, I mean, they literally physically move their offices from Cincinnati to Northern Kentucky to like on Ralph Hale Square
Oh,
to further root themselves in this community. It just felt like, frankly, it felt like a no-brainer to honor their work and their excellence.
that's amazing. Oh my goodness. I'm excited to see them honored and awarded this year. Are you going to be at annual dinner? Do you guys have people going to be that are going to be there at annual dinner this
I
year?
am, yeah. So I've participated in the last several. I had COVID during one of the annual dinners, so I did not go to that one. But I really appreciated it. I've said, the 1,000-person dinners, they are hard to pull off well,
Yeah.
and the Northern Kentucky dinner is fabulous. It's a place to just celebrate all the good work that's happening in the community. So we'll host a group of current and former board members, community partners. So we're always there to
Love it.
celebrate Northern Kentucky and the good work that's happening. But this year, there's an extra pep in my step to celebrate Hale, to celebrate Bernie, his team, and his board, and all they do for our community.
I love it. Is there any specific part of annual dinner that you look forward to every year? I know for a lot of people, they love like the networking hour beforehand with getting cocktails and stuff, but I didn't know if you had a specific moment where you're like, oh, every year I look forward to this.
You know what? For me, it really is the awards presentation. It's always great to network, and it's great when you have everyone in close proximity to be able to connect with old friends and meet new colleagues. But I think the awards presentation just they stick with me because this is a region. I moved here from Dallas 3 years ago,
I'm a transplant too, so I get
yeah, so you can
it.
appreciate this. And like, I love that there's like literally 1 degree of separation, it seems, between everyone in Northern Kentucky and Southwest Ohio, which I think is a huge asset for our community.
Yes.
But what this awards presentation does is just shines a light on the remarkable leadership that our region has, that Northern Kentucky has in its own backyard. And you don't have to be in a giant coastal city, you don't have to be in a place like Dallas,
Mhm.
and you get to see the individuals and institutions that are putting in the work to make Northern Kentucky a greater place. And so I learn something new at every dinner. I meet someone new. I learn about a new initiative or civic leader. And so that awards presentation is just really the highlight of the night for me. And it's
That's
done well. And it's
yeah.
hard to do that well and like giving honor and paying homage to the work that people are doing without it, being a 6.5 hour event.
Yeah.
And I think I think the dinner does that exceptionally well.
Definitely. And it's kind of inspiring when you do see all of those award winners and stuff,
Absolutely.
and you just kind of get to see like all the work they have done. And I don't know, I feel like you do kind of leave there a little bit of inspired, like, oh, wow, I didn't know you could do that. Or I love that they're doing this. And it just encourages me to do better.
It
So,
does. I mean, look, optimism coupled with results is contagious.
yeah,
To be optimistic without seeing actual results that are, really improving our community, I think can be fatiguing over time. And if you need a shot in the arm, if you need to just remember why sort of continuing to lean into the work is so important. You go to this annual dinner and you hear the work that's happening throughout the region.
yeah.
And it is that balance, it's that mix of optimism and results to say, let's keep going, let's keep pushing harder in service of our community.
Definitely. Now I know we're talking a lot about annual dinner, but I do want to talk about like Greater Cincinnati Foundation. Do you guys have anything coming up that we should kind of have on our radar for the rest of the year or even into next year too?
Yeah, I mean, I think I'd say a couple of things. I mean, we recently adopted a pretty ambitious 10-year strategic vision for the region that includes investing over $1 billion dollars into improving the community with a particular focus around education, housing, and community and cultural vibrancy. So we've been partnering closely, particularly with the Catalytic Fund in the launch of their dedicated housing fund and building their capacity. I'll say this, you will see more investment flowing into Northern Kentucky in the coming year. We're really doubling down on our housing fund to be sure that nurses and police officers and firefighters and all of our friends and neighbors have an opportunity to live and work in the community that they call home. And so more work ahead, certainly in Northern Kentucky in partnership with the Catalytic Fund and just this sort of continued commitment around how is GCF more regularly and in a more impactful way showing up in Northern Kentucky. So our giving this year is going to hit a high water mark in Northern Kentucky, and we're not slowing down. We're going to continue to invest in that part of our region because we know how goes Northern Kentucky goes the region.
Definitely. And as a Northern Kentuckian resident myself, I definitely appreciate all of that.
Of course.
Anything else I've missed asking you that you want to share for the greater good?
I'm feeling good. I think we covered it.
Awesome. All right. Well, thank you so much again for taking the time to talk with me today. I really appreciate you doing this.
Excellent. Thank you.
Of course. Have a good rest of your day, okay?
All righty. Yep. Bye now.
Bye.
Hi, everyone. Today on the podcast, I am joined by Frances Kaelin of Bob and Harry's Garage. Frances, welcome to the podcast.
Hi, I'm happy to be here. Super, super duper excited.
Yeah. Well, let's jump right in. You have 2 locations in the Greater Cincinnati area. Tell us a little bit about what you all do.
Yeah, so we provide fleet maintenance for fleet companies. So to give you kind of an idea of what that looks like, and I'm not saying we work with these customers, but just to give you perspective, your Walmarts of the world, Amazon, FedExes, any company that has even one truck that they are running consistently, we want to partner with.
Mm-hmm.
And essentially what we do over at Bob and Harry's is we want to maintain the entire fleet. And we try to provide a full range of services so that way you're not going to other shops. We want to be a one-stop shop for you guys. So what that looks like is like DOT inspections, preventative maintenance services, your easy stuff, brakes, alignments, hoses, things of that nature. And then we can go as far up as engine work, transmission work, after treatment systems, full teardowns on any sort of fleet equipment. We work on light, medium, heavy duty diesel, as well as gas. So we can really handle just about anything and everything a customer needs to throw at us.
Yeah, you said one-stop shop. So that is really everything. And it's more than just, you mentioned a lot of different services. I am not very good at taking care of my car. I'm lucky I do not manage a fleet. So it's more than just having someone come in and do an oil change. How do you work with your customers to make sure they're staying up on that maintenance and why it's so important?
Yeah, so I'm really glad you bring this up. I try to talk to all of my customers about how significant detailed preventative maintenance is, especially running a fleet. You don't, especially if it's like equipment that is hauling anything over 1,000 pounds is what I'd like to say. You want to make sure that you're staying up to date with those services. When we see customers bring units in and they need a really costly repair, typically it is due from a lack of preventative maintenance, meaning they didn't bring it into the shop consistently enough for us to identify the problem before it snowballed into something bigger. So that's why I kind of tell everybody, I'm like, making sure that you stay up to date with that is super, super big. There's typically PM intervals, and I think for a lot of customers, they do some of their own tracking. But I know that some customers are just busy on the fly. When you talk about fleets, usually it is in regard to any sort of shipping or just an on-demand job. So my customers are on the go and just moving around 24/7. They don't have a lot of time to look at a spreadsheet, figure out when their services are due. So, and for us, we typically try to keep track of that for you. And if you just communicate that with us, we are more than happy to put it into our system, as well as like DOT inspections, which is a little side thing, and that is regulated by the government. So heavy fleet equipment that is over a certain weight has to have a Department of Transportation sticker of compliance that their vehicle's safe to operate on the road. And so we also keep track of that. But typically what I tell our customers, if you don't want to do business with us, because we'd happily like to track that, what I'd recommend is getting it on a spreadsheet, documenting it and going off your mileage and figuring out, how consistently you're driving that vehicle and looking up like the mileage that it would need in order to get a preventative maintenance service done. It's also important to note as well that if your unit is idling and it's idling consistently, you need to count that as mileage.
Yeah, but that's the benefit of working with an organization like you all. You guys are going to keep track of that. And I know a lot of times when we think logistics companies, we think downtime. So what are you guys doing to work with your customers to prevent like major downtime when you're working with them?
Yeah, and that's another big reason we recommend preventative maintenance service, because that is going to be one of the biggest ways to help prevent downtime. Because like I told you, when we get customers in and their pieces of equipment have like almost a severe component malfunction or something big, and it's a very costly, time-consuming repair, again, that is something that usually we can identify quickly through preventative maintenance services. So I tell everybody, that is such an important factor that you really need to be considering moving forward if you're not considering it. I want you to start documenting and keeping an eye on those consistently. That is going to help us avoid having those big breakdowns and, having us have to deal with long downtimes. In addition to that, sometimes it's unavoidable. I mean, equipment breaks. It happens. That's the name of the game. That's the kind of business we're in. So what I would tell individuals with that, what we try to do is just making sure we're staying up with as consistent communication as we possibly can, letting you know the prediction of how long that unit is going to be down, and then trying to update customers on a daily basis of where we're at to help them game plan, renting equipment, getting a spare in, and kind of moving their jobs around in order for us to keep that equipment in the shop, getting it serviced and getting it back to them.
Yeah, and all of those things are so essential. And it's really interesting when you think about fleets and the amount of just businesses across northern Kentucky. I know we're a huge logistics hub, but it's everybody. It's HVACs. It could be anybody that has a fleet. So one of the things that you mentioned that is something that I've really never thought about is in your industry, you all are seeing a trade shortage. What sort of things are you seeing? What does that mean? You said it could have a big impact on not just your industry, but the community as a whole.
Yeah, we are. So yes, we are facing a trade shortage that I've never seen before. I've been in recruiting for the last 5 or so years, and it is truly unprecedented times. I think when we think of a trade shortage, it doesn't feel like it really has an impact, so to speak. When you think about it, you're like, oh, it's a trade shortage. Everybody's facing a shortage in all capacities. But what I would like to put in perspective, how serious that is. When we think of trade shortage, I want you to think of the welders, the nurses, the teachers of the world, electricians, plumbers, mechanics, general construction. I mean, that is our infrastructure right there. That is what, I hate to say it, but keeps kind of the world moving, so to speak. And if we don't have individuals filling those roles, we see trucks broken down. We see ambulances broken down. We see fire trucks not able to get to the destination to put out a fire. If we don't have enough plumbers, we see, a crisis in the sewage department. If we don't have people that know how to work on electricity, we don't have electric. If we don't have welders, when bridges are broken, they don't get fixed. I think it's so important to realize that if we don't, as a community, as business partners, get involved in like local schools, colleges, start helping people get into the trades, providing, any sort of additional classes, schooling, partnerships, whatever that looks like, we are going to see a catastrophic event, not only in Kentucky, but throughout the United States.
Yeah, and you touch on something that I think is really interesting because we talk a lot about this when we talk about housing in Northern Kentucky. We've had the Business Industry Association come on and talk at length about how important it is investing in that education and ensuring that there are people that can build your houses or build your apartments or, like you said, bridges. So when you're thinking about mechanics, diesel mechanics, the type of people that you are looking for, what types of things are you guys doing to get involved and how are you guys investing in that?
Absolutely, and I love that you bring that up. So right now, our big investment is trying to work with your local CTE and ATC programs, and then the colleges as well, like Gateway Community College. They have a diesel program, and we're trying to help them get tooling and equipment that they need in order for these mechanics to get the hands-on experience that they're looking for. Not only that, currently right now at the Boone County ATC, we're looking to fill a diesel mechanic position. So I'm trying to help the principal outsource and find the right candidate for that role to teach. And I'll be transparent, that school absolutely needs extra hands on deck, as far as like getting strong advisory committees, which we're trying to help with and build in the diesel department, getting tooling and equipment, which we're also working with them, and any other additional resources that we can try to get our hands on. But yeah, that is what I would say we're doing, and we want to find other people who want to do that as well.
Yeah, expound on that. How can people partner with you and with these organizations that you've just mentioned? Because that's something here at the Chamber, we know people love to partner, people love to get involved in the community. What are some ways that people can reach out? Who should they reach out to?
Yeah, so I work very alongside the Boone County ATC program, because they have a welding program which is amazing. They have a lot of really phenomenal welders, young welders come out of that program. They have a health program, they have a diesel program, they have a millwright program that we're looking to fill. And then we also have an automotive, and then I believe an electrical program as well. I would say that if the community wants to get involved, business partners want to get involved, they can reach out to me. They can reach out to Deborah. I can provide contact information. I mean, you can call the Boone County ATC program and speak with them directly. They're very, very polite, and will make sure to get you to the right person to talk about what resources they need. But we need business partners. We need people to join the advisory committees. We need people to help donate equipment, especially to Boone County ATC, and then probably to Gateway as well. I work with Rodney. He's the diesel teacher over there. And then Sam, I believe, is one of his partners that kind of works on the administration side. I know they would love to get more tooling and equipment. I'd say that's probably one of the biggest things we're missing right now on the diesel side, and I'd like to say in other departments as well. We have teachers that want to teach. Let's just be honest, this equipment's expensive.
Yeah.
Parts, tooling, all of it is very expensive. If business or community wanted to, get involved and help donate or try to raise awareness to get other business partners to get involved, I'd say that would help immensely to those schools. And that's going to be a really good way to bridge this gap.
Yeah.
Getting young kids that are interested, nurturing that interest, creating good advisory programs, good schooling for them, and then helping create a pipeline where they, from those programs, go into a co-op and then get a job. I mean, that it's not going to necessarily erase it, but it's going to help bridge that gap and make it easier to curb the shortage we're seeing.
Yeah, and anything we can do to increase labor percentages, I know that is something that so many people across Northern Kentucky, Cincinnati, and nationwide are really trying to solve. But Frances, it has been so great to talk with you about all of these different topics. Any final thoughts, anything else you think that our viewers and listeners need to know about this labor shortage that we talked about Bob and Harry's Garage, or anything else that's on the top of your mind right now?
Oh, goodness. I mean, it's a phenomenal question. I think just, if you want to get involved and you don't know how, do not hesitate to reach out. I can provide any sort of contact information. You can call our office and ask to speak with me. And I don't mind to have a conversation about ways to get involved in any sort of capacity with any of the schools in the area. And then if you have any questions about detailed preventative maintenance versus just like an oil change, reach out to us. We'd love to explain that to you guys. I know it can be tricky. What I've learned is that when we think about fleet maintenance, there are a couple different types of facilities and how they handle that. Some facilities hire an expert that know fleet maintenance from the palm of their hand or the back of their hand, however you'd like to say it. And then I'd like to be honest with you guys that some other individuals kind of get thrown into the position. It's just the reality. I know that when you think about some of those businesses, I don't want to speak ill. They're probably just pulled in many different directions, and they know it's important. They don't know how to address it. They don't necessarily have the resources to hire specifically for that role. So someone has to step up and take it on. So if you guys have any questions or would like to learn a little bit more about, preventative maintenance or an oil change versus preventative maintenance, we're here to help. We're here to break that down for you guys. And we're here to also talk about downtimes, those expectations, and answer any questions you might have about fleet maintenance in general. I tell everybody that trucking is a foreign language.
Yeah.
If you don't know it, it's hard to understand it. We're here to make that easier. And that is what Bob and Harry's prides itself on is, quality service, quality timelines, and quality communication. We want to make sure that you guys feel confident putting your units on the road and that we have service to them to the best of our abilities and that you trust us to get the job done and get it done right.
Yeah, well, that was so great. Frances, thank you so much for your time today.
Thank you.
Northern Kentucky needs tailored solutions to address our housing shortage. Home for All, Northern Kentucky Housing Strategies, explores how we can retain young adults, help older residents downsize or age in place, and ensure new neighbors have housing options that fit their lives. Dive into the report at housingNKY.org. Hi, everyone. Welcome back. Thanks so much for tuning into today's episode of the podcast. I hope you enjoyed learning more about Bob and Harry's Garage and about the 2026 Devou Cup recipient. We have two big events here at the Northern Kentucky Chamber happening later this week. On Friday, August 28th at 8 a.m., we will be hosting the next installment of our Women's Initiative Professional Series, powered by PNC, The Power of Professional Presence. And at 11:30 on that Friday, we will also be hosting Government Forum, County Leadership Shaping Northern Kentucky. You can learn more about both of these events and still get tickets at nkychamber.com/events. And while you're there, be sure to register for annual dinner before that event sells out. Thank you to our podcast sponsors, CKREU, Google and Amazon advertising experts. And finally, if you are a member who would like to be featured on the podcast, or if you're someone who is interested in joining the Northern Kentucky Chamber as a member, please reach out to Lynn Ablin. You can find her contact information on the screen if you are a viewer, and our listeners can find that at nkychamber.com/staff. Thanks so much for tuning in. I'll talk to you guys next week.